Welcome to Jagrati Yatras Meet the Yatripreneur Google Hangout series, everyone. My name is Anant Krishna. I will be the host for this session. If any of you want to be featured in this show, I also have a question which is asking the same thing. Please do write to our producer, Ashwin Yogesh, at ashwinyogesh@gmail.com. Also, if you can use the Q&A tab to ask your questions, it's on the top left-hand side. I will call out your name when the time comes at the end of at the end of our discussion with Yatripreneur today. Today, we are in Mumbai with our next Yatripreneur. We are also in the world of skill development. Let's meet our Yatripreneur, Vaishali. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thank
Hi.
you.
Vaishali, can you give us an introduction to Srijana?
Sure. So Srujana is a charitable organization with a special focus on women entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what we basically, okay, just let me just give you a context. We look at women as powerful change makers within the community.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the power to influence bigger changes in their community, but they
Mm-hmm.
need to take that first step to get out of their homes and earn some income for themselves, feel the freedom, the independence. And so our interventions are aimed at giving them skill development, getting them out of their homes, giving them some kind of job, organizing them into businesses, providing them with a platform for entrepreneurship, and things around that. So yes, essentially, we are in the space of women empowerment, but we create entrepreneurs more than anything else.
What is the socioeconomic sector are we talking about of these women?
So the social backgrounds would be women who are typically in distress, like single mothers, rescued victims living in a shelter home, or say physically challenged women, homeless women. Economically, most of them fall in the poverty line, if not daily wage workers or even below.
Yeah, so we were talking about the economic, positioning of these women. Can you share with us what is the exact economic sector you're targeting?
So these women and their economic backgrounds is what you are clarifying, right,
Yes,
Anand?
yes, yes.
So most of them belong to the poverty line or below poverty line kind of ratios.
Uh-huh,
Typically, what we really look at is the social aspect, where, as I
uh-huh,
was already saying, that we would look at their vulnerability quotients, which is to say whether are they homeless, or are they living in a shelter home, are they single women, are they women in distress, or are they physically challenged. So we would typically map out all of those characteristics to
uh-huh.
understand how vulnerable or intense their situations are, and
Right.
then decide what kind of interventions we can go ahead with.
So let's come to the interventions in a bit. Give us a sense of numbers, like, what is the numbers so far that you've impacted till now? And what is
Okay.
the, sense of size of this audience out there that you're trying to target?
Yeah. So we have what we call women at risk, is what we
Uh-huh,
call our overall population,
uh-huh,
and we are typically targeting urban women, and they would be 3 million women at risk right now,
uh-huh.
out of which we've reached out 321 women. It does sound like a small population, but in reality, the change that happens is massive, because
Uh-huh.
each woman, when they are touched, moved, and inspired, go out and inspire others to join the movement.
Right.
So it's women with more women kind of community, like it's just spreading out there.
All right, let's get into the specifics of exactly what you do. Like you said, you do skill development and training, right? Can you explain in detail what the skill development and training is actually?
Okay. So actually, while you were disconnected, I had just explained that we have four levels
Uh-huh.
at which we classify and we map out where the women are,
Right.
and it's from there we start our intervention,
Mm-hmm.
wherein we work in a center model, where we create centers on the ground in association with another grassroots NGO or entity. And these centers sort of function as our touch points for
Uh-huh.
all our activities. So essentially, skill training, business assistance, and then market assistance.
Okay, so you identify a group, what exactly it needs, right? When you look at a
Mm-hmm.
group, right? And then you said you work with an NGO to do it, or the NGO
Mm-hmm.
helps you to do it?
Yes, so we have
Okay.
on-ground partners. That's one of my biggest learnings is that if some people are already doing it, do not repeat,
Uh-huh.
just fill in the gaps. So there are some amazing NGOs in India and they're doing some brilliant work. So
Right.
we tie up with these organizations who are with the community and understand the community the best. And we sort of fill in the gaps and we together work towards a common goal
Right.
for these women.
Now you said it's a charity, so I assume the legal structure is a non-profit, right?
Yes.
Right. So was there any doubt when you started that you wanted to do this in a non-profit model or a
Yes.
profit model?
Yes. Again, that was one of the biggest challenges as well. So if you decide to be a not-for-profit, there are its pros and cons, and you have to live with it. So our
Uh-huh.
financial independence and our our financial status was one of our biggest challenges because when you're new, not a lot of people want to donate and support your charity because people are still trying to see whether you would be around for a couple of more years. So
Right.
in that phase, we didn't have a lot of money, and we put in whatever little money we had from our pockets purely out of the passion in our hearts.
Uh-huh.
But that was a tough phase, and that's when we decided that we need a for-profit model as well, not
Uh-huh.
just to sustain ourselves, but also to create something more sustainable as an organization itself.
Right.
And so we've started a company,
Uh-huh.
and this company is into marketing of products made by women's organizations and other sustainability goods.
Okay.
So basically, the company is called Resource, and we are
Uh-huh.
into selling responsible products which are either eco-friendly or have a social impact. So
Right.
either an environmental or a social impact.
Right. But that's an evolution from a non-profit
Yeah.
to a profit. But do you still have the non-profit doing the training and skill development?
Yes. Yes, of
Okay.
course.
So that's you have two entities now that
Yes.
that operates from
Yeah.
different angles, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on the non-profit side more, right? I mean, obviously there was an evolution here that you
Yeah.
came to a profit model as well.
Yeah.
So with the non-profit, how do you support it? Like do you reach out to donors? How exactly
Uh-huh.
do it? Can you
So
give us a sense? Yeah.
Fortunately, we're at a time where CSR is very proactive,
Uh-huh.
and with the companies, Bill More companies are looking out for projects that they can support. And
Right.
in that environment, we have strategic company tie-ups,
Uh-huh.
where we sort of align our goals with the goals of the company, and yeah, we have long-term tie-ups.
So you just call up companies and say this is what Srujna does. I mean, can you
Not
give
really.
us CSR
We
money or
go
how do you
via
do it?
Yeah, we go via references.
You are
So
reference.
we
Okay.
Yes, we seek references. We build trust with the people that we are seeking references with,
Uh-huh.
and then we reach out to the
Is
companies.
that the only source of funds, or do you also have donors? Like, you have Section 80. Is it Section 80 or Section 25? What is it? That you get matchable.
Yes, I understand. No, right now we're relying on company funds primarily
Okay.
because we are well connected in that aspect, and
Right.
it has taken us some time to reach there.
Right.
But for now, we are well aligned with the companies, and we will
Right.
have to evolve ultimately to see how we can more strategically match our
Right.
funders. But it doesn't seem like an issue right now.
Okay, and now let's talk about market linkages. You also sell whatever these artisans, right? I mean, you train
Yeah.
them in some crafts or arts, and they
Mm-hmm.
produce something, and then you give a platform for them to
Mm-hmm.
sell that. What
Yes.
exactly does that mean? Give us a sense of what it involves.
Sure. So essentially, we do exhibitions and we do it across India in companies, in residential societies, and in colleges where we
Uh-huh.
provide stall space to our women or artisan groups or other NGOs. And
Uh-huh.
that's like a platform for them to sell their products.
Right.
What we also do is through the for-profit, we provide them with orders, which is a
Of course.
more bigger, a more bulk sort of income for them.
Right. So these are NGO melas, is that what it is? I mean,
Yes,
exhibitions, or what is it
that's what they are
exactly?
called.
That's what they're called. And
Yeah,
and they happen all over the city or all over India, or
all
how do
over
you I mean,
India.
okay, do you have a list of them, or do you
Yeah,
create one? Do you create the mailer itself, or the mailer happens?
both ways. Most of the time, we have companies proactively seeking mailers saying we want an employee interaction in such and such format. Would you be able to put it together for us? And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's how it happens.
So these are yearly events that happen, right? The melas.
In a year we have around 100 or more.
Oh wow! So that keeps
Yeah.
you quite busy, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
it. And what is the
But
traffic that comes to these melas for these products? I mean, do you see a lot of traction out there?
so typically we sign up only for mailers which have a footfall of about 1,000. So if the
Uh-huh.
company has an employee strength of about 1,000,
Uh-huh.
that's when we would even consider it.
Right. And then you have a margin that you take because you help in
Mhm.
organizing, marketing, and all that, and then the rest goes to the women's group, or is it goes to individual artisan?
No, so essentially in mailers we don't earn anything. We just
Okay.
give them the platform and all of the day's sales is theirs.
All right.
But where we earn is through our for-profit, where we are doing the
Okay.
markup and the selling.
Okay. Which is a new evolution, right? I
Yes,
mean, that is a new evolution for you.
yes, we've
Now,
learned over time.
yeah. So how do you measure impact? You said a little bit about audits. How do you measure impacts to these women that you give these training? What is your
Yes,
criteria?
it's actually pretty simple because the first immediate thing that we want to see is an increase in income. So yes, we see an increase in skills and confidence and all of that, but we try and map out how much they had a monthly income and how much has it gone to. And
Uh-huh.
then we have other soft skill kind of criteria that we measure. But there's a
Uh-huh.
very set system, and it's on a follow procedure that we keep monitoring that.
So you have a template and a philosophy of
Hmm.
impact
Hmm.
measurement. What is
Hmm.
your success rate? I mean, do you even have some metric called success rate, or you have success
Not
and
really.
failures? Okay,
Uh,
you don't. Okay,
what we have is success stories where we've
okay,
seen entrepreneurs blossom from within and people that we didn't expect to be amazing entrepreneurs
right,
who stepped out and been proactive.
right.
We call them success stories and we document them. But apart from that, it's a slow growth for most of them.
What are the barriers that people face? To
While coming
yeah,
while
your
coming
client.
for a job.
Yeah. What are the barriers? Yeah, yeah.
Most often than not, very common excuses are, oh, we had to do household chores, and oh, I have to send my son to school, or oh, I have to go for my day's work, because it's an expense for them to leave their daily wage work income for the training. So, socially constructed roles or
Uh-huh.
financial constraints.
So do you have a psychologist as well handy, or I mean, do you do hands-on counseling, or
Uh,
how do you?
No, so that's why we work with a partner NGO. It's because
Uh-huh.
they have mobilizers and social workers who can reach out and sort of take them slowly into the movement. But
Right.
it's a slow process.
Now, what is your background? As I get into the team behind Srujna, it's you.
Um,
You're a co-founder, right? So
yeah.
tell us a little bit about you and your team member.
Okay, very quickly.
Uh-huh.
I am a textile designer by graduation,
Hmm.
but after that, I was working as a merchandiser. I didn't find any satisfaction in what I was doing, so I left that and I went volunteering,
Hmm.
which is when I went to a rural NGO where I worked with women first, and I experienced how self-help groups function and how women's collectives function and how skilled they are and
Right.
the impact that it can have on their lives. And it was so inspiring that I wanted to come back and do all of that all over
Uh-huh.
again. And but that was rural India, so I came back to urban India and I did my MBA in social entrepreneurship. That's when I understood
Uh-huh.
the landscape in Mumbai and in urban India.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so that's when I went to the shelter home and I saw these women and I said, okay, this is where I gotta start.
Right.
And yes, life has just charted its own path from there.
Right. And then how do you? I mean, what size is your team?
Oh, well, it's actually a very small, it's just two of us.
Uh-huh.
And we're mainly run by partner organizations. So we don't have people on payroll. The way
Uh-huh.
we function is because we need to keep our admin costs low.
Right.
So the way we function is we have center coordinators
Uh-huh.
who are either staff of the other NGO or
Uh-huh.
who are part of the beneficiaries, but they become,
Right.
since they are doing the coordination work, we pay them a little bit extra. So they do our field work for us.
So you're pretty lean and mean then, right?
Yes, and yes, not to forget lovely volunteers that do all the work. Thank you, guys.
Right. Yeah. All right. So where do you see the future for Srujna?
Well, I very honestly believe that there is potential for a Srujana Center across India because
Hmm.
women from all backgrounds have similar aspirations and they want to step out of their homes and they want to be someone. And so
Right.
I guess it can be a huge collective, a huge movement towards independent, confident, and contributing women. Yeah.
But you're in Mumbai right now, right? I mean,
Uh-huh.
you just focus on Mumbai, right?
Yes, we have 4 centers here,
Four
but
centers here, right?
yes. So we are in an upscale expansion mode. We're just
Okay.
scouting for the right partners.
You're scouting for the right partners. And what are
Right.
you looking in the right partners very quickly?
Well, essentially, they've got to be working with the similar goals
Uh-huh.
and the same target audience that we want to. And then there
Right.
are just logistical things that we scan through.
But you're in a very sector which is not exactly, I mean, I don't know, there are issues of discipline, professionalism and all that. How do you when you face with that, what do you do?
Well, very honestly, it is a very hard-driven sector. So people tend to be like, oh, don't make money out of it. And there are
Yeah.
various things like that. But we maintain our professionalism and we train our partners to do the same. And slowly the sector too will evolve.
So, but have you had to let go of certain people because they're not professional or you didn't meet your
Not on
expectation?
payroll,
Uh-huh.
not on payroll since we don't have that.
Right.
But yes, we face a lot of that on field.
Uh-huh.
And professionalism is something that I understand because I'm from a B school, but I don't
Uh-huh.
expect everybody else to understand.
Right.
So we
Which is,
train them
yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, which I was curious about that. So what are some of the lessons you give for people who are trying to enter this? I mean, there are a lot of people who are
Oh,
trying to get into education and skill development. So
well,
what are some of
very
the lessons you give?
so very honestly, the like the biggest thing I've also told myself is that if you want to do it, just do it.
Uh-huh.
Go for it because we had a lot of judgment and a lot of barriers faced in the start where
Uh-huh.
people were very questioning, but
Uh-huh.
we were working out of a pure faith
Right.
and the change that we wanted to see and the
Right.
women that we love to work with. And so it started on an experimentation basis, but we just went ahead and did it. Had I listened to them, I probably wouldn't have done it. So just
Right.
do it. Like, guys, just go explore your heart out.
Right. So who are your role models? Who inspires you every day, or who's somebody who you look up to?
Yes, well, as I mentioned, I worked in a rural developmental organization, and the leading lady over there who was sort of leading the movement, her name
Hmm.
is Dr. Shama Maitre, and
Uh-huh.
very, very amazing, inspiring. Personally, interacted with her, and that was my first experience with social sector. Has left an imprint on me since,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
What exactly did she do now?
What exactly does she do now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the director over there, and she
Okay.
sort of leads, yeah, the rural developmental movement
All
altogether.
right. Right, right. Awesome. So how do people, I mean, I'm going to take some questions now. If people have any
Sure,
questions, people want to ask any questions, feel free to
sure,
do it.
sure.
Any questions, anybody? Any questions? Just ask, please. Rehana has a question. Do you pay the women a daily wage when they come for training?
Hi, Rehana. So mostly we discourage that kind of initiative, primarily because it gives them a dual motive for coming, whereas we want their motive to be coming there to learn and then wanting to pursue a job. So if they're paying a little bit of cost, if it is costing them, say their daily wage or something, they become more serious and sincere towards
Hmm.
the training.
Great question. Vaishali, in the meantime, how do people get a
Yeah.
hold of you? If they want to reach you, is there an email
Sure.
address?
Yes, it's vaishali@srujna.org, as simple as that.
All
And
right.
Srujna is Srujna.
All right. Of
But
course.
I'm very approachable. I want to get in touch with more yatris and
Yeah.
get their inputs, their advice, or just want to hear what they think about the enterprise. It'd be great. Great to get connected.
Awesome. Awesome. Any questions, anybody? Just ask the questions, please. Just ask the questions. Anybody wants to ask questions? Well, I guess I must have asked all the questions then.
I guess we spoke too
What
long.
next? Yeah, no, no, you're good. It was awesome to hear from you, Vaishali. We
Yes,
wish
great.
Srujana the best. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
contributing
you so
today.
much.